Hey everyone, I am Jonathan Elkhoury. Today is December 10th, 2024. This is the live daily briefing of the Israeli Citizens Spokesperson's office. We are live on Instagram, X, YouTube, and LinkedIn, and available afterwards wherever you get your podcasts. Please start submitting questions in the chat, and as always, like, subscribe, and share to help us reach a wider audience. Israel won't let hostile forces approach our borders. That's why Israel put its troops in the former UN buffer zone on the Israeli-Syrian border. For 50 years, UN troops, called UNDOF, patrolled a zone separating the militaries of Israel and Syria. As the Assad regime fell, those UN troops came under attack. Israel's troops stepped in and saved the UN troops. Syria's military collapsed. Now, Israel's military took up positions in that buffer zone. The UN zone includes the peak of Mount Hermon, towering above Israel, Syria, and Lebanon. Mount Hermon is the highest point in the region of 2,800 meters, over 9,000 feet. Mount Hermon is 800 meters, nearly 3,000 feet above the Golan. Mount Hermon allows Israel to detect any Iran's drones attacks. If hostile forces held Mount Hermon, Israel's people would be in danger. Israel wants peace with Syria, but Israel did not allow Iran's proxies like Assad or Hezbollah to endanger its people from Syria. And Israel will not allow anyone else to endanger its people from Syria. And it's not just about the positions. Israel will not allow the Assad regime's advanced weapons to fall into hostile hands. Israel destroyed Assad's fighter jets on the ground. Israel destroyed Assad's navy in port, and Israel destroyed many of Assad's chemical weapons. Rebels that toppled the Assad regime include radical jihadis. Hezbollah has also been trying to take Assad's advanced weapons. We do not know who will rule Syria. Imagine radical terror forces with jets, ships, or chemical weapons. That is a threat to Israel and everyone else. Israel is again the front line in defense of the world. You can thank us later for that. We've many times mentioned problems with UNRWA, but the Aid Group World Central Kitchen is dealing with its Hamas problem. World Central Kitchen just fired 12% of its staff for possible terror links. Israel recently eliminated a Hamas murderer who was also a World Central Kitchen staffer. World Central Kitchen didn't cover up. It investigated. World Central Kitchen found 60 of its 500 staff failed security checks. In the end, World Central Kitchen did the right thing and fired them. Aid groups do not have to be compromised by Hamas. UNRWA has hundreds of Hamas murderers on staff. UNRWA also has thousands of Hamas affiliates on the payroll. UNRWA diverted hundreds of millions to Hamas. UNRWA's teacher unions in Lebanon and Gaza were or are headed by Hamas leaders. And worst of all, UNRWA knew about Hamas infiltration for years. 20 years ago, UNRWA's head even said, "I am sure there are Hamas members on the UNRWA payroll, and I don't see that as a crime." Donors should ensure they aid Gazans, not Hamas. UNRWA is a Hamas front. That's why UNRWA needs to be defunded. Now let's take some questions from our audience watching live on social media.
Thank you, Jonathan. Our first question today comes from Zephyr on Instagram. There are reports that Israel's army is approaching Damascus. Is this true?
That's a great question. Thank you very much for asking it. Until last week, Israel's forces on its border with Syria were around 30 to 35 kilometers from Damascus. It depends on how one measures it. After the Assad regime fell, Israel's forces announced they entered the UN buffer zone on the border, and that is about 25 to 30 kilometers to Damascus. Israel is not approaching Damascus. The army denied it. Israel is securing its border, and that's what we should do.
Our next question is from Yehuda on Instagram. What can you tell us about the situation for minorities in Syria, such as Christians and Kurds?
Thank you very much for asking that, Yehuda. It's a really important question that I think everyone in the world needs to ask themselves and see how they can assist Syria's minorities. You have the Kurds, you have Christians, you have also other minority groups like the Druze, or also now the Alawites, or other groups of Syria that are really scared because some of the rebels are affiliated with ISIS, with other terror groups. And that's something that all of us need to make sure that no harm will happen to them. Also, our Minister of Foreign Affairs have announced that the whole world needs to help the Kurds because they are facing right now intense attacks on their territories, and everyone on all the eyes of the world needs to make sure that Syria's minorities are protected, from Kurds to Christians and to other minorities.
Thank you. This is our final question. Does the fall of the Assad regime in Syria make a hostage release deal with Hamas more likely?
Well, the Assad regime was one of the chains of the Islamic Republic of Iran to this territory. And with Assad's regime falling, that isolates Hamas even more and puts them in a position where now they are completely isolated. Hezbollah has abandoned Hamas when they signed some sort of no war zone with Israel right now. Also, the Assad regime that used to help Hezbollah to basically give weapons from the Islamic Republic of Iran to Hezbollah in Lebanon, it stopped. And their support also has stopped. So now Hamas are in a position where they're trying to, reassess their position. And I do believe that this is about time that Hamas, that are watching right now, also, I know that they're watching everything that every Israeli is saying. They need to release all of the 100 hostages that there still remain in captivity in Gaza. This is something that also the whole international community needs to join Israel by making sure that Hamas dismantles, that they're not being able to rearm, regroup, and regain their efforts in eliminating Israel and Israelis. And that's something that all of us needs to take care of. And I'm sure that now, after Hamas saw that all of the terror regimes have been falling and their support are minimizing, they will have to do something about it.
Thanks for watching. Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, share, and hit subscribe to stay updated with our latest content. Until next time, stay informed and inspired. This is DaJobnik signing off.